everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Cavanaugh's Corner. Just want to say thank you for everyone for coming back to the channel. Today on the channel we're going to be reviewing a movie that I've been waiting a little bit for. Not going to lie, I was kind of excited about this, and I mentioned it in my last review, which was also, ironically enough, another film directed by Paul Verhoeven. And if you watched that Basic Instinct review, you know that this was the next one up, and I was very, very excited to get this. One that I pre-ordered a while back, a couple months ago actually, and I got it, I watched it, and today we're going to be reviewing Robocop, the new 4K Ultra HD Special Limited Collector's Edition. All these releases now have 19 names to them, but this is the all-new 4K from Arrow Video, and this is actually the Steelbook. Now, if you follow me over at TikTok, the username there is Cavanaugh's Corner on TikTok, you'll see me unboxing this. And it really is a nice little set. I left the little slip cover here on the back, but you can see it has the picture of Robocop from the film, and then you can see inside it's actually a 2-disc set. They are 2 4K discs. There's no standard Blu-rays. We're seeing Blu-rays starting to disappear from these 4K sets. A lot of companies are doing that now, and you can see the inside of the Steelbook has got the a shot from the scene in the film where Ed 209 shoots the ever-living crap out of that guy. That poor guy in the conference room there, he turns him into hamburger. Especially nasty in the director's cut. And you can see here the 2 discs. This 4K has the director's cut, and this other one has the theatrical cut. And in preparation for this review, I ended up watching both of them. And today we're going to be talking about the picture quality, the audio quality, and the just huge amount of special features that I probably won't be able to go through all of them, but we're going to talk about this new Arrow Video 4K disc. Arrow Video did come out with this on Blu-ray a few years ago, and it was from a 4K scan, a scan that was done by MGM in 2013. So the 4K transfer of this film has been out for quite a while, and that former Blu-ray, which ironically enough is pretty much the exact same packaging as the one I have here. I'm all about consistency, but I went with this one because I like the Steelbooks, and I also like the fact that this is the original poster, and I like original artwork. Very rarely do we get releases now that have the original artwork on the cover. It's usually something else. It's usually either a new artist's rendition or something, and those are all fine and dandy, but this is the Robocop poster that I remember. I really love this, with him getting out of the Ford Taurus there. I love this, and I also like the fact that Robo here is like shiny and the rest of it is like a matte finish. I really like that. I think that's a really neat touch. But as I mentioned earlier, it's been around a while. That other Blu-ray came out a few years ago, and it was a fantastic Blu-ray. Hands down the best transfer that anybody's ever done. And again, you know, MGM is to thank for that. Now, again, with this, we finally get to see the movie in full 4K, in true 4K, and that other disc was just 1080p. And I will say, starting with the picture quality for this disc, the picture quality is a step up. It is a step up. Detail level is enhanced quite a bit. Is it groundbreaking? No. Sadly, it is not. It is not a giant differential from the older Blu-ray, especially the more recent Blu-rays of this. I would say the picture quality is, I would say, kind of a small to medium step up in terms of detail level. I did notice little things that I didn't notice before. In terms of like costume and makeup and things like that. It's a lot clearer than it used to be. The grain in this, though, is a medium to heavy. and the grain is definitely telling of the time it was made. This thing came out in 1987, and again, it's apparent that, again, the film stock used on this, again, it's from the time period, so they were going for a grittier look, and I understand why they did that. I wouldn't say it's heavy to the point where it's distracting, but there's definitely, it's medium most of the film. The other thing I wanted to talk about when it comes to the picture with this is the fact that we also now have Dolby Vision HDR on both cuts of the film, also HDR10 if you don't have a Dolby Vision television. And I will say Dolby Vision is the biggest step up with this release. The Dolby Vision is a huge upgrade. Colors now are way more pronounced than they were before. Skin tones are much more pronounced. The blood just jumps out at you. It actually kind of looks fake now, even though the amount of blood that there was before, I mean, it's a massive amount of blood. If you've ever seen this movie, it's an extraordinarily bloody movie. But the movie now really jumps out at you with the colors, reds, yellows. The highlights of the film are much more apparent now thanks to that Dolby Vision. Other than that, I would say the picture quality as a whole is not a huge step up from the older Blu-ray, but if you do want to watch it in the best quality you can, this is the way to go. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the picture quality, even though it is a slight upgrade, the one thing I wanted to talk about when it comes to picture is the director's cut versus the theatrical cut. Now, the director's cut, for those of you that haven't seen it, does have some moments added into the film that were removed from the theatrical version due to issues with the MPAA. They had to make some cuts to the violence because they were trying to get an R rating and they kept getting an X or an NC-17, however you want to say it. Those moments have been restored pretty well, and the prior Blu-ray from Arrow that I reviewed a couple of years ago, I mentioned in that you can barely tell the difference now from the the stuff that was cut to the stuff that wasn't. It's a slight dip in quality, but it's almost negligible, honestly. Versus like previous versions of the film where you could really tell there was some damage to those elements from that cut material. On this, the only differential that I could tell with the director's cut was that it almost seemed like the colors were off a little, and to me it wasn't really a big deal breaker. But I know that, again, for those of you that are really sticklers for this stuff, and again, I can be a stickler for certain things, but for me, it wasn't to the point where it was completely distracting. I still enjoyed the director's cut. It's actually my preferred version. But as a whole, I'd say that you can tell a little bit with the higher resolution now, and the HDR and everything. You can kind of tell when it's deleted stuff, when it's that director's cut material. So just be aware of that, but I didn't think it was anything really to the point where I was like, wow, you can really see the damage, and it's not like that. It's just there's a slight dip in that color palette where it becomes a little more bland than it does for the rest of the film. Watching the theatrical cut, you won't have any of that because that deleted footage is not there, obviously. Besides that, the other thing that's really great about this new set is that the movie now has a Dolby Atmos soundtrack. And the Dolby Atmos track on this is absolutely fantastic. The Atmos track is noticeably better than previous 5.1 mixes. It's actually really funny when you actually have to go and select the Atmos track. It does not come automatically as the default. You have to go and choose it, so be aware of that if you pick this up. So when you go and pick it, it actually gives you like a tutorial on how to set up your stuff properly for Dolby Atmos, and as somebody that kind of knows what they're doing with this stuff, it was like, really? Like, you're giving me like a warning sign for this? But again, for someone who may be new to 4K or new to Dolby Atmos, it's actually kind of nice to have, because it tells you how to set up your surround sound system, your TV, whatever, so you get the proper sound, which I think is really, really nice. It does downscale to a 7.1, but the movie does also include, both of them do also include a 2.0 original stereo track. It's a lossless stereo. There's also a lossless 4-channel mix, a DTS HD Master Audio 5.1, and of course the Dolby Atmos that I already mentioned. And that old DTS track was great. I mean, there was nothing wrong with it. It sounded great. I never had any issues with it. But the Dolby Atmos just kicks it up just a little bit more. The surrounds, work really well. The music is really loud and clear. I thought the bass on it was pretty good. It's pretty much just kind of a fancier version of that old DTS HD 5.1 mix, but I like it. It's definitely going to be the preferred way I listen to this from now on, but if you do prefer the old school 2.0 and 4.0 tracks, they are there as well. Arrow does a really good job with including that stuff. And there are also a ton of special features. There are special features on the director's cut disc and different special features on the theatrical cut. There are so many. If I were to list them here, we would be here forever. But there's making of documentaries, tons of interviews. There are the more deleted scenes. There's a storyboard thing. There's so much. There's a whole special feature documentary about Basil Poledouris, who was the composer of this film and a lot of others. The special features are all carryovers from the older Arrow Blu-ray. So if you have that older Arrow Blu-ray, they're all on that as well. But again, there's commentary tracks with the director and John Davidson, the producer. Also with Ed Neumeyer, they're all there for the commentary. There is just tons of stuff. I mean, just absolutely tons of stuff. The theatrical cut disc also has the edited for television version, which is, it has different alternate dubs, different takes, different edits. That is in standard definition only, though. And watching that upscaled now, watching it on a 4K disc, it's pretty wild. But I am glad that they actually included it on the theatrical cut disc. There's actually a whole compilation of alternate and deleted scenes for from 2 edited for television versions, including outtakes newly transferred in HD from recently unearthed 35mm elements. Woo, what a mouthful that was. But there is just a metric crap ton of special features on here. Just like the older Arrow Blu-ray had. But this, again, you get it all on 2 discs. It's incredible, the stuff that they can put on these 4K discs now. In conclusion, I would say that Robocop, if you're a fan of this film and you want to see it in 4K in the highest quality possible, this is definitely a buy. I cannot recommend it highly enough if you're a fan of this film. If you already have the older Arrow Blu-ray and you're not in a rush to upgrade to the 4K disc for the HDR and the Dolby Atmos and all that stuff, it may not be worth it. If you're really not in a rush to upgrade, it's a good upgrade, but it's not this massive, groundbreaking, totally different version of the movie you've never seen before. It's still the same old Robocop. It's a phenomenal film. I love this movie, which is the reason why I picked it up on 4K on day one. I had to have it. Do I regret my purchase? No, I do not, because it's an awesome movie. And it looks better now than it ever has. But is it a gigantic upgrade? It's really not. But if you do want to pick it up, I'll leave a link in the description below that goes to Amazon. where you can order it there. If you do use that link and order that film, it does get me a little kickback, and it supports the channel here, and I greatly appreciate it if you use that to buy this. Until next time, I just want to say thank you all for coming back to the channel. Hit that thumbs up button if you like this review, and of course subscribe to the channel so we can keep the train rolling. We just recently surpassed 2,000 subscribers, and I can't thank you enough for that. It's really been an amazing ride, and we're going to keep it going with the next video. Until then, please stay safe and take it easy.